today. Again, another episode of Quarantine Coaches. This time we got my hometown team and Florida Atlantic University. Coach Mamula, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, Josh.
We could go with Coach Mams, right?
No doubt.
No doubt. Good stuff, man. How's the family doing? Everybody safe down there?
Doing good. Yeah, a lot of pickup basketball and playing catch with the softball with my daughter. So
I mean,
trying to fill the days with a lot of that stuff.
have you experienced anything like this in your coaching career?
No, certainly not.
I mean, is there anything even comparable to it, a stoppage of play that you've seen or dealt with?
I mean, this is my 20th year, Josh, in college baseball, and nothing like it. I keep using the analogy that, we're in a speedboat because we were obviously right in the middle of our season, just getting going with the recruiting, getting winded up, and now we've jumped into the paddle boat, where life is just completely slowed down for all of us, and we're all trying to make the best of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's wild. I know there'll be a lot more answers with time, but obviously there's bigger things than baseball in life that we got to take care of. But we are here to talk some baseball, so let's enjoy that. And speaking of boats, you guys are right on the water. Tell us, where is FAU and what's it all about down there?
Sure. Florida Atlantic University, Boca Raton, Florida. As we talk about, less than 2 miles from the beach in Boca Raton. So basically sit right in between Fort Lauderdale and West Palm, about 20 miles from each of those, 45 miles north of Miami, obviously a beautiful part of the country that we like to call paradise. 20,000 full-time undergrad students on this campus. Josh, when you put all of the branch campuses together, it's about 30,000 undergrad students at FAU.
Where are the players on your roster coming from for the most part? Are they mainly Florida guys, or do you look elsewhere? Do you have kids reach out to you from other states?
Well, being a state school in Florida, obviously the majority of our roster are Florida residents. The young men, the baseball players in Florida have it very fortunate, in my opinion, just because the state schools here in this state, not only is the baseball good, but the price is right. The state of Florida has been able to keep the cost down of the public schools tremendously. So, we've taken advantage of that, and majority of our roster in state, but we do have some out-of-state guys and a couple international guys on our roster right now.
What do you guys like to do? I know I see you out on the road a lot, and it is unique because there's so much talent right there in Florida in the Southeast that you kind of don't need to go too far to find what you're looking for. Where are the places that you find success in going to, on the recruiting trail?
Sure. Now we're always going to start our searches with the Florida resident, as we just talked about, Josh, but always want to try to get as many of the local Palm Beach, Broward, Dade County kids as we can. FAU's had a lot of success over the years and has had a lot of success with players from those 3 counties, and then, expand out from there. We have had a fair number of Orlando kids as well in this program.
I know you mentioned the success, Conference USA, always competing for that top spot or winning that top spot. What is the track record? I mean, I know you guys have got a few championships in recent years in Conference USA. Where are you guys at right now with that?
Yeah, 2 of the last 4 years we've won the regular season, Conference USA, which strong baseball conference. The basketball, the football, not as strong as, the baseball has been historically. We've been in the regionals 3 of the last 4 years, the NCAA tournament that way. And the thing we like to brag about, I guess, to recruits in this program is of the 13 Division I programs in Florida, we have the 4th best winning percentage over the last 20 years combined, which we feel like speaks to the consistency with which we've won, this program. And it goes Florida State, Miami, Florida State, Miami, Florida, and Florida Atlantic. So,
I'm sorry, who did you say was number 1 there? Just to confirm, my alma mater.
Your alma mater, yeah. Seminoles, who we went up there earlier in the year and got drilled by them, but they're number 1. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I always enjoy watching FAU play over the years because yeah, it might not be the ACC or the SEC team, but every year you guys are going toe to toe with them and winning your fair share of the series is here and there. It just shows how great the baseball is down there. I think families, coaches, I think everybody's getting a little smarter about the recruiting process and realizing just how many great options there are, and the parity is getting better.
Sure.
I think that's a great thing. Tell us, again, for some people who might just be learning about this school right now, Coach Mack, the head coach, Coach Kopp, the pitching coach, he's my buddy, and he refuses to get on camera. He's got the best face and the best hair out of all of us.
Yeah, right. No, he's the single one. He's the one that should be on here,
Man, I know. So what's the coaching staff like? What's the dynamics and the stuff?
Coach McCormack, the head coach. I don't know. Are we counting the 2020 as a complete season? Like, how does that?
Yeah, I think we're just gonna give it.
We're gonna roll with it. Okay, so he just finished then his 30th year at FAU. I believe, don't quote me on this, 18 of those as the assistant, and I believe this would have been his 12th as the head coach. So he grew up in Boca, played at Lynn right across the street here in Boca. So he's Boca through and through, FAU through and through, and obviously the rock of this program, that's held this thing together. And, we spoke about the consistency of winning year in, year out. And, that falls on the leader, Coach Mack. So great guy to work for, great guy to play for, as you know, Josh. Coach Kopp, our pitching coach, the one that was afraid to get on camera today. That's why everybody's got to look at my bald dome today. Coach Kopp just finished his 3rd year with us here as our pitching coach at FAU.
Kopp was a great guy. I grew up playing against him. He was really good in high school.
That's what he says too. Yeah.
Yeah, he says that. Yeah, I can confirm that. I don't want to give him that credit on camera here, but I'll confirm that. That he's taught me a lot about pitching. He's kind of the guy I go to with my dumb questions because I don't have credibility with him, so I can't lose credibility, that kind of thing. So anytime I got a dumb pitching question, I go to him over the past couple of years, and he's taught me a lot. He's a great pitching coach. Let's get into some of the recruiting stuff for you. And I'm really happy to not be talking pitching finally.
Sure.
What are some things on the offensive side when you're out recruiting that you like to see that can separate these high school guys from their peers?
Sure. And each program is going to answer that differently. For me, being the recruiting coordinator here at FAU, Josh, and the hitting coach, we can kind of get really specific with the type of offensive players we want to bring in. But to answer your question, to separate themselves, from their peers, obviously when you get off the bus, you're going to look at the kids that stand out physically, through their DNA that have been blessed with that. And then also the time they've put in the weight room is going to stand out. So high school players, wear the right set of pants that show off your baseball muscles. So when you get off the bus, so to speak, or walk out into the field, you stand out from your peers because, before the game even starts, you're going to know, just looking at guys physically, who you may want to pay a little bit more attention to. From there, you're going to watch, or I'm going to watch the body language. What does he look like before the game? What's he look like walking up to the plate? What does he look like in the box? Obviously, you want the confident looking guy. And the tough thing I've seen for high school guys is every call that goes against them, you see the body language get negative, the negative look. They feel like they have to say or show something to the umpire that they think he missed the call. And we know, especially in these tournaments where the umpires are umpiring 6 games a day, they're going to miss calls, and they're going to miss them on purpose. Everything that
it gets hot, man. It gets hot sometimes.
No doubt. You're in Cartersville, Georgia, umpiring 6 games a day on the turf. You're looking for strikes. You're looking for outs. But, the body language has to stay positive. You want confident hitters. So guys can separate themselves through their body language. For sure. For us, we like the disciplined hitter, the guy that really knows the strike zone. So that's something, guy can separate himself from is, does he know the zone? Does he know what he's swinging at? Guys that do that, in high school are going to draw walks. They're going to get the good hitting counts a lot. And then once they swing the bat, obviously you're looking for bat speed. You're looking for a swing that's going to work when they get to college, meaning it's going to work when they see 90, 92 and sliders. The toughest thing for me that I'm constantly looking for, but the toughest separator to find is the pitch recognition. That's why you want to watch as many at-bats as you can, and you'd like to see those at-bats against pitchers that have good breaking balls, just to see can the high school hitter recognize pitches. And I think that's where the majority of my misses and probably all recruiting coordinators' misses come from, is you think you're bringing in somebody that's going to have a lot of success offensively in college, and then all of a sudden they get to campus and you can see they just do not recognize a good breaking ball. And that can take years sometimes for guys to figure out if they ever do.
Right. And that's some of the stuff that would be awesome if we could dig into a little bit more, is about that preparedness to get to the college level. Obviously everybody has their limitations at every level, but at high school with practice times, they have available to them, or the amount of coaches and things like that. I mean, what can they be doing, athletes, to get better at pitch recognition, or understanding the zone? Like, what are some things they should be doing, maybe in practice as a group or even on their own?
Sure. Well, to know the zone, as I tell our hitters here at FAU all the time, Josh, guys who chase in BP are going to chase in games. So you have to be good with the zone and BP at all times, whether it's in the cage or on the field. So that's where, to me, the strike zone recognition starts.
So for high school coaches or travel coaches that are throwing a bad BP, don't tell your guys get in there and swing and be aggressive. That's bad. That's not a good thing.
I throw terrible BP, so I know exactly what you're saying. But no, for our hitters in this program, if you swing a pitch out of the zone, that round of BP's over. Guys get out of the cage. They know that. Or if they take a good pitch to hit, same thing.
Love it.
I think if you're a high score travel coach, I think that's a good, rule to have. The guys don't like it, especially when there's scouts there watching BP. They don't like to be kicked out of the cage in the middle of a round. So they'll figure out what's a ball, what's a strike real quick.
Are you a believer in like the numbered tennis balls, or the colored tennis balls, things like that, as a way to recognize the pitch or keep your eye on the ball, spin, anything like that?
Yeah, I like those drills. We don't do those ones per se, but we have some vision, training stuff that we do with our guys. But
can you give me an example of what you do at a college level for like that?
Sure. Well, two parts. The practical part is a lot of our BP is going to have breaking balls and changeups in it. And most of the time, I don't want the hitters to know when it's coming, because that's the reality of what's going to happen in baseball. And the high school guys should be doing the same thing. They should be we need rounds where we're just laying fastballs in there and guys are feeling good about it. But we also need to have the majority of our rounds with breaking balls, changeups. That's part of it. As far as the pitch recognition stuff, that's the most practical. What I've found here with our guys that I like to do best, because again, we're limited with time in college and we're limited with attention spans, obviously, is we film our own pitchers throwing bullpens from the hitter's point of view. So we'll put the camera, half of it in the right-handed box, half of it in the left-handed box, and film our guys. And then we'll go throw it up on the big screen, have all the hitters in the theater room, and we'll stop what we call pitch occlusion. We'll stop the pitch when it gets about halfway to home, which is typically when they're going to have to make a decision when to swing at. We'll stop the pitch, stop the video there, and have the hitters yell out what the pitch is and if it's going to be a ball or strike. And then we'll hit play and let the video go. And our hitters kind of like that because it becomes competitive in the room, but it also becomes competitive where they're trying to figure out their own teammates' pitches, which, could have some carryover, I think, once you get into inter squads.
At a college level, how do you improve their situational awareness? And I'm thinking, I don't know what the right wording for this would be, but understanding counts more than anything. Not necessarily like what I'm trying to do, hit the ball the other way or put on the ground in the air. How do you improve that with guys? Really understanding counts and when to be aggressive and when to look for what? I mean, do you guys work on that? I'd imagine, right?
Sure. No, it's a good question. It's always the balance of trying not to make your hitters too cognitive versus just go up there and hit. But again, we want to have our hitters, we want to have a less than two strike approach and a two strike approach. And those are going to vary slightly for each guy. The two strike approach might vary greatly from guy to guy, what they like to do, where they like to stand, what their approach becomes. But we're going to practice that. We have most of our rounds of BP are dictated if it's a less than two strike approach versus a two strike approach. Because again, if you're going to stand somewhere different in the box, maybe choke up, do something different with your feet, your hands, your approach with two strikes, well, we need to practice that because we know in college professional baseball, roughly half of your at-bats are going to get to a two strike count.
At the college level, what kind of scouting reports do your hitters use? How much time do they have to review them, and how much you think those are helping them on the weekends?
Sure, and that has changed tremendously in the last few years here, Josh, with the company called Synergy. Basically, every pitch of the college season is recorded and can be filtered down almost as specific as you want. So my job as the hitting coach is to watch all the opposing pitchers on film and put together a report to give to our hitters. And again, I want to make it as simple for them as possible. In short, I want our scouting report to be, what do we need to do to beat this guy, being the starting pitcher, and then when they go to the reliever, that guy. So got to keep it simple, and there's so much information out there with the spray charts and the video now. I'm trying to pick up tendencies. Sometimes we'll go into a game and we'll already have the pitcher's pitches that I've been able to pick on video. He might do something different with how he sets his hands or how he comes set or the timing rhythm of how he comes set, fastball versus off speed. So it can be tremendously helpful. With that, we don't have to bang on the garbage cans. We can tell them before the
I mean, at the college level, because they're in class, and then they come to the field, they got to do their thing for you, and then they got to go home and do homework and try to sleep in there. So it's kind of like you doing a lot of the cramming of the information or the studying of the information. Then is it like an in-game thing where, hey, this is what's going on with this guy, and you kind of tell them before they go up to the plate? Or, I mean, how much time do you have to sit down and discuss that scouting report with them?
Sure. With the starter, we're going to do a brief scouting report before BP in case there's something I want them to do in BP, like, hey, this is a guy we want to get up on the plate, up in the box on. So during BP, they can already make that adjustment. Then right before the game, 15 minutes before, when we run our sprints in the outfield, I'm going to go over it again. And again, I'm trying to keep it as simple and dumbed down as possible, only the stuff that's going to help us. And then I coach third. And when they bring a reliever in the middle of an inning or between innings, I'm going to run in the dugout, see what notes I have. And if I have anything I think is going to be helpful and not, be clutter for them, I'm going to share that with them as well.
You coach third. What's the coaching move that you've made at third that has made the head coach more mad at you than anything else you've ever done?
The one that jumps out to me, my first year, our first weekend, Josh, we're at Mississippi State. I believe they're ranked second in the country. Coach McCormack was sick, couldn't make the trip, and is watching the game online on Watch ESPN. And I get two guys thrown out at home in that first game against Mississippi State. And we win, and we're all ecstatic, and we get on the bus. And my cell phone is blowing up, and Coach Mack is calling me, screaming about the two guys that got thrown out at home, telling me how slow they are, shouldn't have waved them, that sort of thing. So that jumps right out at me, yeah.
Do you believe in the rule, never make the last out at third?
The last out at third? Yeah. I mean, at times it's going to happen if you have aggressive base runners, which we want our guys to be aggressive, but when it happens, we're all not happy about it,
What are some of the general rules to follow as a third base coach?
Well, I mean, you need to know your hitters. Obviously, you need to know where the outfielders are playing, their arm strength, the field. A lot of times if you're on these turf fields that a lot of the teams now have, the ball skips faster when it hits the turf, especially when it's wet coming in. That factors in. the outs, the situation. There's a lot that goes into it. Your runners, all that stuff. So a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, it becomes a split-second decision. I still move decent for my age. I try to get as far down the line as I can so I can make that decision as late as possible. But we're all guilty of getting guys thrown out when we shouldn't, or holding guys up when we should have waved them.
So when you're in the first base dugout and it's time to go to the third base box, are you a runner, a jogger, a little bit of both? I mean, do you make it look cool? What's your pattern, your movement?
Probably more of a runner. You don't want to go with the dork run, but try to.
I mean, you're trying to get as much of that scouting report into the hitter as possible. You wait till the last second and then get over there. You're that guy.
Try to get out there with 2 or 3 pitches left,
Okay.
The last minute, you don't want the game to wait for you,
Okay. I like it. Everybody's got their own style, even the third base coach. Before we go here, a lot of guys right now, they are sitting at home, quarantined. What are some things for, I know you work with infielders also. What are some things that these high school kids, or heck, even your own kids, can be working on to get better on their own?
Sure. And we've all seen on Twitter, it's a beautiful thing, a lot of infield drills going on with the wall ball and exchange stuff. Love all that stuff, especially anything that involves bare hands. The one I want to add to that, and I've seen this in a couple of the wall ball drills, but most high school infielders can only throw from one arm slot. So why not take this time when you're at home and have nothing else to do to work on some different arm slots, which can really pay off, obviously, when they're on the run, making throws to first, and more specifically when they're making feeds and turns at second base. So that'd be one that jumps out as, if you can't do it, high school infielders, work on having different arm slots, being able to throw from all over the place. The other one I like that I'll do with our infielders when I have time is just get a bucket of tennis balls, a tennis racket, have them start maybe 20, 25 feet away with their bare hands and just start smashing tennis balls at them. And at first, they're going to miss more than they can catch. But as they get good at it, we'll keep moving them closer, maybe get them even up to 10 feet. And it becomes fun for them. And it's a tennis ball. It's not going to hurt that bad if you get hit in the face, But it's one of those things where you can make practice harder than the game. And you do that enough, and then all of a sudden a real ground ball hits you, and it seems like the 95-mile-an-hour ground ball looks like it's moving 65 miles an hour after doing the tennis ball drill.
Great stuff. I think we had a nice little combination there of some of the simplistic things for the younger guys and a little bit more of what's happening at the college level, and hopefully give these guys a look at how to make that transition smoother. So I appreciate it, Coach Mams. Thank you very much for coming on here today, man.
Thanks for having me, Josh. Good time.
Good time. I'll talk to you soon. Stay safe down there.
All right, buddy. That's it.